Above our heads a silent terror hangs. It is the ever-present threat of nuclear war, a horrifying possibility that has haunted humanity since the dawn of the atomic age. We live in a world where unimaginable destruction could be unleashed at a moment's notice. The consequences would be catastrophic, reshaping our world beyond recognition. The question is not if it could happen, but when, and if we as a species are prepared to face the consequences. The truth is, we are not. No nation, no people are ready for the firestorm that would follow a nuclear detonation. The immediate aftermath would be horrific, but it is the long-term effects that would truly devastate our planet. Nuclear winter, radioactive fallout, and global famine are just a few of the horrors that await those who survive the initial blast. The potential for nuclear war is not a theoretical exercise. It is a clear and present danger. As long as nuclear weapons exist, the risk of global annihilation remains. We must face this uncomfortable truth head-on. Our survival depends on it. The world is a dangerous place. Tensions simmer between nations, fueled by political ambition, economic rivalry, and ancient hatreds. The threat of terrorism casts a long shadow, its tendrils reaching into every corner of the globe. And at the heart of this volatile mix lies the terrifying power of nuclear weapons. 9 nations possess these weapons of unimaginable destruction, each with its own motivations, its own fears and insecurities. The United States and Russia locked in a new Cold War. Maintain the largest arsenals. China's nuclear might grows steadily, while North Korea continues its reckless pursuit of nuclear weapons. India and Pakistan, bitter rivals, watch each other with suspicion, their fingers hovering over the nuclear trigger. The danger is not just limited to these nuclear-armed states. Terrorist organizations actively seek to acquire nuclear weapons. The thought of a nuclear device detonating in a major city is a nightmare scenario. It would have devastating consequences, both in terms of immediate casualties and the long-term psychological impact on our world. The potential for miscalculation is high. A simple misunderstanding, a technical malfunction, or a deliberate act of aggression could trigger a chain of events leading to global nuclear war. The stakes have never been higher. The need for diplomacy, for restraint, and for a renewed commitment to nuclear disarmament has never been greater.
It begins with a blinding flash, a silent detonation detected only by the most sensitive instruments. A nuclear weapon launched from a hidden silo in North Korea streaks across the sky. Its target Seoul, South Korea, a city of millions unaware of the doom hurtling towards them. The early warning systems scream, but it is already too late. The missile penetrates the atmosphere, its trajectory taking it directly towards the heart of the city. For a split second, an eerie silence hangs in the air. Then the world explodes. The blast is unimaginable. A searing wave of heat and light engulfs everything within a 5-mile radius. Buildings crumble, instantly reduced to rubble. People vaporize, their shadows etched into the pavement. The air itself crackles with energy, a deadly cocktail of radiation and debris. The initial blast is just the beginning. A monstrous mushroom cloud rises from the ashes, casting a sinister shadow across the land. Shockwaves ripple outward, shattering windows and collapsing structures miles from ground zero. The air fills with a deafening roar, a sound that will forever haunt the nightmares of those who survive.
Seoul, once a vibrant metropolis, is now a smouldering crater. The air is thick with smoke and the stench of death. Buildings are reduced to twisted metal skeletons, their shadows stretching out like grotesque fingers across the ruined landscape. The lucky ones died instantly. The unlucky ones face a slow and agonizing death from radiation poisoning. The world watches in horror as the news unfolds. The images, beamed across the globe, are nothing short of apocalyptic. The initial shock soon gives way to fear, anger, and a chilling realization. This is not a nightmare, it is all too real. Governments scramble to respond, but their efforts seem woefully inadequate in the face of such unimaginable destruction. The United Nations convenes an emergency session, but the debate is heated and unproductive. Accusations fly, old wounds are reopened, and the world teeters on the brink of a wider conflict. The attack on Seoul is not an isolated incident. It is a spark that ignites the global powder keg. Fear and paranoia grip the world, creating a climate ripe for retaliation and escalation. The doomsday clock ticks ever closer to midnight. The United States responds with a fury that shakes the world. A retaliatory strike launched within hours of the Seoul attack targets a suspected North Korean nuclear facility. The blast is even more powerful than the first, vaporizing everything within a 10-mile radius. The message is clear. Any attack on American soil or its allies will be met with swift and devastating force. But the cycle of violence, once unleashed, is difficult to contain. China, fearing an American attack, launches a preemptive strike against Taiwan. Russia, seeing an opportunity to reassert its dominance, invades Eastern Europe. The world is plunged into chaos, a terrifying free-for-all where nuclear weapons are the ultimate bargaining chip. As the days turn into weeks, the situation spirals further out of control. Nuclear explosions light up the night sky, each one a terrifying reminder of the stakes involved. The world watches in horror as cities are reduced to rubble, their populations decimated in the blink of an eye. The unthinkable has become the inevitable. The global communication network, already strained by the initial attacks, collapses entirely. Governments lose contact with their embassies and military units. Rumors and misinformation spread like wildfire, fueling paranoia and distrust. The world descends into a state of anarchy, a nightmarish free-for-all where survival is the only law. The world is a very different place now. Gone are the bustling cities, the verdant forests, the familiar landscapes of home. In their place lies a desolate wasteland scarred by nuclear fire and shrouded in a perpetual twilight. The air is thick with radioactive dust, making every breath a gamble. The once familiar constellations are gone, replaced by the eerie glow of burning cities on the horizon. The survivors emerge from their shelters, blinking in the strange, dim light. They are a shadow of their former selves, their bodies ravaged by radiation sickness, their minds shattered by the horrors they have witnessed. They scavenge for food and water, their every thought consumed by survival. But survival in this new world is a precarious thing. Resources are scarce, and the threat of radiation poisoning is ever present. The social order has collapsed, replaced by a brutal fight for survival. Trust is a luxury few can afford. The strong prey on the weak, and the innocent suffer unspeakable horrors. The lucky ones die quickly. The unlucky ones cling to life, their bodies slowly succumbing to radiation poisoning. Their hair falls out, their skin blisters and peels, and their internal organs shut down. The worst is yet to come. The millions of tons of ash and debris blasted into the atmosphere begin to block out the sun. Temperatures plummet, plunging the planet into a perpetual twilight. A nuclear winter has descended, far colder and more devastating than any natural ice age. Crops fail and famine spreads across the globe. The survivors, already weakened by radiation sickness and despair, are easy prey to disease and starvation. The lucky ones die quickly, the unlucky ones linger on, their bodies slowly wasting away. The oceans, once teeming with life, become vast, poisoned graveyards. Fish stocks collapse and marine ecosystems crumble. Coastal communities, already devastated by the initial blasts and the rising sea levels caused by melting polar ice caps, are wiped out entirely. The planet is dying, slowly and painfully. Even in the most remote corners of the globe, the effects of the nuclear war are felt. The delicate balance of nature is disrupted and ecosystems collapse. Species go extinct, their genetic lines wiped out forever. The planet is a shadow of its former self, a desolate wasteland where life struggles to survive. The true cost of nuclear war cannot be measured in megatons or casualties. It is measured in the shattered lives of the survivors, the millions who have lost everything, their homes, their families, their hope. It is measured in the silent screams of children born into a world of darkness and despair, their bodies ravaged by radiation, their futures forever blighted. The psychological toll is immeasurable. The survivors are haunted by the memories of the horrors they have witnessed. The blinding flash, the deafening roar, the agonizing deaths of loved ones. They are plagued by nightmares, flashbacks, and a deep-seated sense of despair. Many succumb to mental illness, unable to cope with the trauma they have endured. The social fabric of society, already frayed by the stresses of war, unravels entirely. Governments collapse, law and order break down, and the rule of law is replaced by the law of the jungle. Violence, fueled by desperation and a lack of resources, becomes commonplace. The survivors turn on each other, their humanity eroded by the horrors they have witnessed. The world is a very different place now. Gone is the laughter of children, the joy of human connection, the simple pleasures that make life worth living. In their place is a profound sense of loss, a collective grief that hangs over the survivors like a shroud. The human spirit, once thought indomitable, is broken. We stand at a crossroads. The path we choose today will determine the fate of humanity. We can continue down the road of militarism and aggression, a road that leads inevitably to annihilation, or we can choose a different path, a path of peace, diplomacy, and mutual understanding. The choice is clear. We must choose peace. We must choose to dismantle our nuclear arsenals, to renounce war as a means of resolving conflict, and to embrace a future where cooperation and understanding replace suspicion and fear. This is not a utopian dream, it is a necessity. The survival of our species depends on it. We have the power to create a better world for ourselves and for future generations. Let us choose wisely. Let us choose peace. Let us start today. Contact your elected officials. Support organizations working for peace and disarmament. Raise your voice against violence and hatred. Every action, no matter how small, can make a difference. The future of humanity is in our hands. Let us not squander it.